Welcome to talklessandgeeks.com. This will also be on imaginativevisions.com. Justin here, back with more Tribeca 2024 coverage. And today we have another great filmmaker. Please welcome Maria Poncio. And we're going to be talking about When Everything Burns. First of
Yes.
all, excellent movie. You're the director of this. So how did this project come about?
Okay. Well, thanks of all. Thank you for having us and in, like the project. So this is a project that I started writing a couple of years ago. I am from Cordoba, Argentina, and for the past few years we had a several amount of wildfires in the area where, like, in the hills near the city I grew up, and mainly in 2020 there was a very big one. And the sad thing is that most of the cases, these fires are intentional and they are related to development. So in the areas that are protected because they have like native lands and native forest, they are not supposed to be able to build in these areas. But then when the area is burned, there is like a gray area in the law. So they some companies use this in order to be able to like build in these like forbidden areas. And so as a response to this, a group of neighbors started organizing themselves and fighting the fires and learning how to fight the fires. And I found this very inspiring, and I admire this organization a lot because I think it's a response from the people in a more like horizontal way to a situation that the government is not being able to act or control. And so I wanted to explore this situation, but with a fiction story. So that's how it started.
So this is actually based off of real, well, you can say kind of like real life events of things that you were able that you're seeing here.
Yeah.
My next question I always ask everybody is, how did you get into filmmaking and the art of film? Do you remember when you first fell in love with that passion?
Yeah, I think I was always very related to arts in different forms, like music, dance, and acting and different stuff. And then when I started studying journalism as undergrad, of like back home in Cordoba, with the idea of like changing the world or like finding some sort of truth or whatever, and then working in journalism. Sorry, working in journalism, I noticed that like it's difficult to like actually have your own voice in the media. Like you end up a lot of the times trying to like having to say whatever they want you to say. And then I found that in films you have more freedom to actually like make your own questions and like kind of show and express your feelings or your thoughts of the world in a more free way. So that's why I started making films. Then I like now I love like fiction and like creating realities that are not necessarily fully real, but like make me reflect about the world and about the human experience, and hopefully also makes others also think about these things, right?
And we have your film When Everything Burns. Obviously, you told us what's it about, what inspired it. The character Isabel, I really love the just the journey, because it starts off, and obviously there's no spoilers, but it starts off with her doing a particular act, and you can kind of say it was kind of a lot. Not it was kind of a little bit of a I gotcha moment, like of who she has to interact with throughout this whole scene. I'm trying to do it without spoilers, but this whole particular moment, which is kind of a defining moment for her. Would you say that Isabel at the end or towards this, as you were writing, that she kind of had a little bit more of an understand, like I will say a little bit of a perspective? Now she's like, okay, this was my perspective, but now that I had to sit here and look at this guy who's choosing to probably take this act, do you think she had like a little bit of a character change towards the end?
Yes, I think it's to me like I don't know if like she's changing, but I think it's a moment because like it's a this character is like full of anger and full of frustration, and I feel like she doesn't stop. She's like doing and not thinking at all, just doing, like kind of in an impulsive way. And so in that moment in which she has this encounter, she's like obliged to stop and think, and for a moment to like see the other person, like it's not that she forgets her ideas or what she thinks or her ideology, that's still there, but like for a second she has a little bit of compassion for someone that is different, and she's able, I think, to understand or see the other person. And as well, the other way, I feel like the man also, I feel like, understands her or sees her better than before, even though they are in kind of opposite sides in a way.
Mm.
uh I feel like they both kind of like are able to like see a little bit of the other person, and still be faithful to themselves, but with a room for someone else in a way.
And I always ask indie filmmakers this: what would you say was the biggest challenge for you on just getting this project made and just the production in general?
um I mean, it was a very ambitious story, I would say, for like the little resources that we had.
Mm.
But honestly, I feel like the team was so good and so talented, and we did it with a lot of friends and family collaborating, that I don't think that there were a lot of challenges in terms of like making it happen.
Mm.
Um, we did have to like think about it in a way that like the creative decisions that we had to make were always counting on the resource that we had. So like it's like you have to like adapt kind of the way you're gonna tell the story to the resources that you have. Like you don't have like a real fire, so okay, how I'm gonna shoot this? Like you have to think in that way. But to me, limitations most of the time bring you like more like creativity in the end, or like sparks more creativity. So I feel like, I don't know, I think that the most challenging part is the writing always. But once it's there and once you're sure that what you want and you have a good team, then like it happens in a way. I don't know. But it's always, yeah, I mean, it's difficult, but yeah, with the right people and the right team, I think um, you end up making the right decisions for it to happen in the best way possible.
And I want to touch on what you just said there when it comes to like to the writing, as you know, writing myself. What do you find is the most difficult about like creating the character? Is it creating the character, picking the setting, trying to find your theme? What do you think for you writing this one was like? Probably was it trying to get Isabel locked down? Was it trying to create that kind of dynamic character in her, or was it just more of you making sure that the message that you want to tell is really hit on for the audience?
Yeah, I think the most challenging thing for short films is like making something small, because I
Mm.
feel like most of the time, I at least, and maybe some other filmmakers also, tend to think like in very big stories.
Mm.
And then so that exercise of like, no, it has to be smaller, it has to be smaller situation, it has to be, because like I really wanted a complex character that had contradictions, and in itself the whole situation was very complex, but I didn't want to explain that much, because then it becomes very like educational, and I didn't want that. So it's like how to like find a small piece of moment that could represent the whole like complexity of the situation. I think that's the most the hardest thing to find. And once you find that small thing, then everything comes together. But yeah, I think that was the most difficult.
And last two questions. What would you hope audiences get from this, from the message? Because obviously, like you said, you told us that this is you were inspired by things that's actually happening. So what do you hope that audience watch the film and take from it and be more aware of?
Yeah, I think the question that I'm trying to kind of share, that I do to myself also, is like, what can we do with this like destruction that is happening in the world? Even it can be fire, it can be I don't know, like all the mining or whatever other like abuse of resources, of like the natural resources that we have, and the destruction that it's made for like progress or for like modernist like decisions, whatever. So like what can we do when we see that, when we like, yes, we are small, we feel like that we cannot do enough, but I feel like if we organize with other people and we work collectively, there is something to do. And so yeah, I would like people to think about that, and also about this compassion element of like how we see other people that think different from us, and what do we do in those situations, kind of thing.
And final question, how can people fans reach you or keep in touch with your work? Do you have a website or social media where people keep updated with latest projects that you're working on?
Yeah, for now I have just Instagram. I'm working on my website, but for now it's just that. And yeah, it's like BELU and then my last name PONCIO. So that's a way I try to like keep posting about the work and about what I'm working on. So that's the best way for the moment. Yeah.
Thank you, Maria.
Thank you so much for your time and
Bye.
attention.